All right, let's dive right into this explainer and tackle the absolute universal nightmare of every project manager, developer, and product owner out there having an infinite list of brilliant ideas but strictly limited time and money to actually build them. We've all been there, right? You start with a nice, simple goal, and suddenly the feature requests just start pouring in. Before you know it, your sleek project has turned into a bloated, over-budget monster. Well, it doesn't have to be that way. Today, we're going to completely unpack the art and science of product prioritization. To help you build a real strategic tool belt, here is our game plan. We'll cover the infinite idea problem, the minimum viable product, mastering the MoSCoW method, using quantitative frameworks, visualizing the user journey, and finally, strategies for prioritization success. Section 1. The infinite idea problem. Let's start with the foundational friction that threatens to derail literally every project. We've all stared down this impossible question, haven't we? How do you build everything when your time and money are running out? Stakeholders slide you this massive wish list of features they want implemented by yesterday. Marketing wants an AI chatbot. Security wants biometric scanning, and on and on. They're all awesome ideas, but you just can't build them all. You simply have to prioritize. And that brings us to the undeniable laws of project physics, what we call the triple constraints. Think of time, cost, and scope as a rigid triangle. If you decide to increase the scope of your mobile app to include that shiny new AI feature, you absolutely have to alter the others. You're either extending the timeline or you're hiking up the cost to hire more developers. You cannot pull one corner of this triangle without stretching the whole thing. Grasping this reality is step 1 in taking back control of your roadmap. Moving on to Section 2, the minimum viable product. Setting a firm MVP acts as a total lifesaver here. Software consultant Robert James Bruce really hit the nail on the head when he pointed out that feature creep is purely a symptom of poor management, and it's what ultimately destroys budgets. An MVP is basically a strict contract between everyone involved that explicitly prevents this project-killing scope expansion. If it's not in the MVP, it's not happening right now. End of story. So, here is the absolutely crucial point. Your MVP has to strictly lock in the deliverables, meaning exactly what the product will do, way before you ever start stressing over the requirements, which is the how. For example, a deliverable is, users must log in securely. That's the what. The requirement, or the how, might be using Face ID. Always lock down the what first to protect your scope. All right, Section 3, Mastering the MoSCoW method. This categorization tool is a total game changer for avoiding meeting room brawls. It forces everyone to label features into 4 strict buckets. Must-haves are critical, literally no launch without them. Should-haves are super important, but hey, the product still works even if you need a manual workaround. Could-haves are those nice-to-have bonuses, and won't-haves, those are explicitly sidelined for now. It totally wipes out that muddy, high, medium, low priority nonsense. Now here's a really powerful rule of thumb from the Agile DSDM framework. Your must-have features should never, ever exceed 60% of your total project effort. Why 60%? Because you absolutely need that remaining 40% dedicated to your should-haves and could-haves to act as a safety buffer. If you label everything as a must-have, you have zero flexibility when things inevitably go wrong. Which leads us to Section 4, Quantitative Frameworks and Scoring. Look, while MoSCoW is fantastic, sometimes office politics and emotional bias start creeping in. When that happens, you need to bring out the cold, hard math. The RICE framework is brilliant for this. You take how many people a feature will reach, multiply it by the impact on the user, multiply that by your confidence level, and divide the whole shebang by the effort it takes to build it. It totally removes the emotion and forces people to objectively justify their pet projects. Take a look at this weighted scorecard for a budgeting app. By assigning percentage weights to your business goals, you force stakeholders to align on strategy. See how customer value holds a massive 40% weight, while dev risk is just 10%? When you score features against these specific columns, the math literally does the prioritizing for you. Auto-suggest wins out here because it perfectly aligns with what the business actually values. But hey, numbers aren't everything. Product manager Bruce McCarthy gives us a great reality check here. Just because 2 features score highly doesn't mean they belong in the same room together. If you're building a lean, lightning-fast app, bolting on a heavy social networking feature just because it's scored well might completely ruin the core experience. The strategy always has to validate the math. Okay, Section 5, Visualizing the User Journey. Sometimes you need to ditch the spreadsheets entirely and just walk in your user's shoes. Story mapping is perfect for this. You literally map out the chronological journey from sign up to profile setup, core usage, and checkout, and you slot your features underneath each step. It guarantees your product actually has a logical, unbroken flow. You don't want to build an incredible checkout page for an app that users can't even figure out how to log into. Then we have the Kano model, which is all about customer satisfaction. Think of this like a hotel room. If there's no hot water, which is a basic, expected feature, nobody cares if you left fancy chocolates on the pillow. You have to nail the basic plumbing first, but you also need to sprinkle in a few of those unexpected delighters to really get customers excited. And of course, you've got to look outside your own bubble. Using a competitive grid plots your features directly against your rivals. It acts like a radar, showing you exactly where you need to build something just to catch up to the market standard, and where you can completely skip a hyped-up feature because no one else is actually getting value from it.
Finally, Section 6, Strategies for Prioritization Success.
So how do we actually pull this all off? Well, no framework survives without deep team alignment. You have to explicitly define what value actually means for your project on day one. Is it revenue? Is it growth? Figure that out early. Then communicate nonstop with your stakeholders, do regular priority reviews, and lean into iterative development to constantly navigate those tricky constraints of time, cost, and scope. As we wrap up this explainer, I want you to look at your own roadmap right now and ask yourself a really tough question. If your budget got slashed in half tomorrow, which of your features would actually survive, and which would completely sink your product? Time to start pruning that infinite idea tree today.